start out thinking about climate the way we remember it fondly, in the Wisconsin that we remember fondly. What will you weave me, winter? What will you weave? What will you weave me, winter? What will you weave? I'll weave you a blanket of pure white snow and crystal lace at your window.
We found some Wisconsin farmers to share their stories and some people to help us think about solutions.
The most widespread political activity in the history of the world is happening today, and you're part of it. And don't ever believe, like Margaret Mead told us, that a small group of people can't change the world, because that's all it ever has. Now, as a farmer, I look at the weather, and perhaps no one is more dependent on the weather than farmers. We work outside every day, regardless of the conditions. We depend on the rain for our crops. We worry about our animals in the heat and the cold, the rain, the snow. We need rain, but not too much, not too little, and we don't want it all at once. We need snow cover to protect the land, to keep our crops safe through the winter. We need dry weather to harvest and to plant, cool weather for the grass, moderate temperatures for our cattle. Now, that's a lot to ask for, isn't it? But you know, in the 30-plus years I've been farming, we've always gotten it. Sure, there were blips along the way. We had dry years, we had wet years, but that was always part of the normal. We knew it was going to happen, but it was part of the normal. We knew we could expect it. There is no normal anymore.
I'm here to share some information about climate science. This is something I've been studying for 15 years, and as Madeline said, I'm a professor in atmospheric and oceanic sciences here at UW-Madison. Start out by saying that the science is very clear. The climate is warming, and we know why that's happening. So global surface temperature has increased by about half a degree since the pre-industrial time, and 2011 was the 9th warmest year since 1880, and of the warmest 10 years on record, 9 of those have occurred since the year 2000, and the other warmest year was 1998, which was a big El Nino, which is a very warm period for natural reasons.
I looked up a little about this March's heat wave. It broke over 15,000 high temperature records in the U.S. And in all the years they've been keeping temperature records in Madison, March temperatures had only reached 80 degrees 5 times in all of that recorded history, but we did it 5 times in 1 week this year. So the early spring has had dramatic and devastating effects on fruit farmers. Philippe Coquard of Wallersheim Winery couldn't be here, but he asked us to tell you that they lost 25 to 30% of their crop this year due to the early spring followed by the frost.
And you know, I'd say that's not really too unusual for a couple warm days in March, but the problem was this long stretch of 2 weeks of these continually warm temperatures. So an apple tree is kind of more at the whim of the weather than something where you decide when it starts growing. So, so after that warm March that we had, the apples started budding about 5 weeks ahead of schedule, earlier than any other time that's ever happened. And the problem is, once those buds start pushing out of the trees, as they go, every day they become more and more susceptible to cold, with the most susceptible being the open blossom. Okay, so while everybody was out, you know, riding their bikes and having a good time in March, fruit farmers in the Midwest, we were stressed. You know, we were losing hair. Hair was getting gray at the same time, so it was all falling out all over the place.
Climate change hurts farmers. Again, climate change hurts farmers. Move around a little bit. Climate change hurts farmers. A little bit more movement. Climate change hurts farmers. All right, let's take this message from Lettuce Man and from all of you to our friends and our neighbors. Let us be part of the solution. Let us support our local farmers. Let us help educate the world about the connection and how we're all connected with this planet and how the climate change has been impacting on us. Enjoy the day.
Today's theme is connecting the dots, and one way that I found that we connected the dots with our video and our work was that my cousin has been doing maple sugaring for 4 or 5 years now, and people up on the reservation, familially, this is something that's passed down generation to generation. It wasn't just her that we interviewed another gentleman by the name of Ron Korn Jr., who runs a youth camp that lets the youth get out and also practice maple sugaring. But we interviewed him, and he said that with his talks with elders in our tribe, none of them had seen the sap run this early, and that the spring was way early. I also talked with people down in the Oneida Nation near Green Bay, and traditionally they wait for the first thunder of spring to go out and check the trees. And this year the sap started running 2.5 weeks before the first thunder of spring. So it's unprecedented in oral histories and in these communities that rely on these natural occurrences.